I got to see the house where Ted the Bear lives. Didn't get to touch him though. Universal Studios Hollywood, located at Universal City, California, opened in 1964 as a theme park. However, it originally opened in 1912 as a movie studio, and in 1915 as a studio lot. You see, many theme parks try to evoke the feeling of the movies. Heck, Universal Orlando's slogan is "Ride the Movies." At least that's what my shirt says. However, in this theme park's case, it literally is a movie studio. It's interesting though, besides Super Nintendo World, the only thing I ever hear about this place is about the movie studio portion of the park, and by extension, the studio tour. So I thought I better check and see if it's actually a good theme park, or if it's just a tourist attraction where you can point and go, ooh, at. Then again, I guess all theme parks are kind of like that. Before entering the park, you have to get there. Being in the heart of Los Angeles, it's actually pretty easy to get to, even directly from Los Angeles Airport. There's a metro stop near the park which is easily accessible from downtown LA, however it is a fair walk before you are at the park gates, plus you have to conquer quite a steep hill. Luckily there is a shuttle bus themed like the studio tour buses that comes pretty damn often. I would say just take the shuttle, as not only is that hill a bit of a bitch, but you're gonna rack up steps throughout the day. Plus the shuttle bus arrives pretty dang close to the entrance to the park. Meanwhile on foot you're going up, down and all around. When you are making your way up the hill, you will eventually notice a minion staring down at you, judging you for your life choices. Jokes aside, I think that's kind of funny. There is parking, but from the outside, it didn't actually look like there was that much versus other places I have been, so be warned there. Unlike Universal Orlando, you are not forced to go through CityWalk, Universal's shopping and dining strip. This was lovely, as you can get straight to the park, ignoring the shopping if you want to. I will discuss CityWalk at the end of the video, however, timestamps below. I did check out every shop here out of curiosity, and I also checked out the cinema. The entrance experience is pretty cool. The universal globe spinning inside a fountain is always a cool icon in my eyes, as well as the archway ahead of you. There is multiple red carpets guiding you to each of the entrances, as well as places to buy tickets, express passes, which allow you to skip the line for rides once or as many times depending on what you pay, as well as a VIP area where you can upgrade your day. Here is where I mentioned that I did the VIP tour, mainly because I doubt I'll ever be here again, and I wanted to see what it was like as I heard good things in the past. But I will save talking about that specifically until the end, and only mention it throughout the bulk of the review if it actually gives a different experience to your typical day, and how it does. Entering the park, you are greeted by a statue with 3 people, a camera operator, a boom operator, and I am assuming a director doing the sickest Cossack squats I have seen in a while. My guy has some amazing adductor strength and mobility, like goddamn. From there is a strip of shops, such as a generic Universal store, a Hello Kitty store, Illumination store, and a store named Feature Presentation, which I would assume rotates whenever something new comes along. At the time, it was themed to Super Nintendo World. Right away, pretty much, I was faced with some out-of-place items labelled Halloween Horror Nights. This is a separate event you have to pay for, and takes place through September to November at Universal parks around the world. It's basically haunted houses but with a budget behind it, as well as live entertainment and actors roaming around the park, all with a spooky and horror theme. It's never really interested me much, but I mention it here as during the season, the usual themes of the park clash with the props for the events. Some get put away, but it looked to me like, at least in this park, most were just pushed to the side during the day. It acts as a good teaser to see what you are missing, but as someone who likes to review parks as if you are going on an average day, all the props and entrance signs to other attractions I can't go through are kind of annoying and off-putting. I understand it would be a ball ache to bring in and out the props every day, but to some guests, including myself, the props feel weird. If anything, seeing staff walk props out a few hours before closing time would be kind of cool. It gets people asking, yo, what is that? Which may drive up on the day ticket sales. I don't know, just shooting out big money ideas here. Universal, hire my ass. Universal Hollywood is split into two parts, the upper and the lower lot, separated by a massive set of stairs. You can take escalators if you'd rather, or if you can't take the stairs. I mention this, as while I was walking around the upper lots before opening, getting this B-roll, something hit me. Wow, this place is small. I'm going to quickly tour you around the upper lot, then we will hit the attractions. After walking down the strip I just mentioned, we walk past a stunt show named Waterworld on our right, and on our left you can next go down a path that takes you to like a mini New York, I think, where the Secret Life of Pets attraction is. Directly opposite is an attraction named Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, as well as a fun fair styled park named Super Silly Funland. If you ignore those and keep walking down the path we entered through, on your right you will walk past a Donkey from Shrek meet and greet location, as well as a chance to meet Shrek and Fiona, along with the Kung Fu Panda adventure attraction. A short film you can watch in a theatre. Keep going again, you will, at the time of recording, see some construction for a roller coaster coming in 2026. Look left, you get a bastardized version of Paris according to my tour guide, though it was hard to tell with all the Halloween Horror Night props knocking about. Keep walking, suddenly you're in Hogsmeade from Harry Potter, home to 2 rides and an experience. It literally is, you turn a corner and then bam, there it is. Keep going one last time, and you find yourself in Springfield, home of the Simpsons ride. Standing in the centre, you can then go left towards the lower lot, or right for the studio tour. And that's it. Now, it sounds like a lot, and it is. However, in the same amount of time I said the above paragraph, you could have walked from the entrance of the park all the way to the end of the upper lot if you walked at a brisk pace. The area is flipping tiny, which means there is next to no theming tying the lands together. It can be jarring if you walked in expecting a themed experience. I found it rather surprising more than anything else. For example, it felt rather surreal being in the wonderfully themed Hogsmeade from Harry Potter, then to turn around and see construction of an eventual roller coaster while still being in that part of the park. This park really has space limitations, man. My tour guide had an amazing point regarding the size of this park, which I'm going to mention at the end of the video, so look forward to that in like an hour and a bit, or just skip ahead, it's up to you. I'm just grateful you're here with me. It's very lonely in this room, and there's only so long my dogs can feign interest in this stuff for me. She's sleeping right there. I'm going to pan out. Can you see her? I don't think you can. She moved. Anyway, right, let's flip reverse it and back up on ourselves, and start discussing some attractions. I'm going to head to the right from the entrance to begin with, as I wanted to discuss Waterworld. This attraction, based on a film I will probably never see, opened in 1995. And, well, this shit's got to be pretty damn great if it's about to hit its 20th anniversary at the time of recording. So let's go and take a look. Walking under the sign, mist sprayers doing their job, 2 things caught my eye. The day I was there, only 3 showtimes were displayed, so be sure to plan your day around being able to catch this show if you want to see it. The other is the cast. Waterworld seems to have a fluid cast, changing when needed, and it's cool as you walk in seeing what the cast members have previously been in. One person I noticed had only been in the Waterworld stunt show, travelling around the Universal Studios around the world, performing in different countries. That's really cool. Walking in, there's not too much to see, though the building the show is housed in has these aquatic themed props that help set the scene of what the themes of the show will be. Rust, danger, and lots of water. Once seated, with no view truly being a bad view of the set, looking at the set more while I was waiting for the show to start, I would start to wonder how each section of this set would get used. Since this park is so space confined, each part has to be used, otherwise it wouldn't be there. So my mind was racing, trying to guess the show before it even happened. I noticed as I sat and scanned the area, there was a small area blocked off at the top of the front section to the stage, reserved for VIP and Express Pass users. So that's how you'd be able to use that if you had any of those on the day you were here. Personally, I did not use my VIP pass on it, as I didn't want to use it on a show. It's a shame that there are buildings in the way, ruining the skyline, as otherwise I'd fully buy into this set being the story if you catch my drift. But with the buildings behind the show, it kind of ruins the immersion, which is sad to say. Waiting for the show to start, members of the cast will be out hyping up the guests, warning of splash zones that will soak people and giving them fair warning, and a preview by spraying them with water. The vibes were good going into the show. Everyone was ready for a good time. Now all that was left was to see if the cast and crew could deliver. So in Waterworld, it seems everyone in this world is trying to find dry land in a world of pure water. Smokers, a bunch of bandits, want to find dry land first. Battles, hostage situations, jet skis, boats, ziplining from one corner of the stage to another, and many more things take place in this stunt show. And that's really it. It's a stunt show. It's not meant to win you over with the story or acting per se. The story is hokey and the crew know it, so they play into it, and more let the actions of the action do the storytelling. Everyone does their job great, matching the timings of the music that plays as the show goes on, matching the campy punching sounds to their movements, and I don't want to spoil all the practical stunts, including the finale, as that takes away the real appeal of the show. And I would argue they do deliver on that, building up the intensity of the show and the scale of the set pieces until the grand finale. That I won't spoil, but was a great shock due to the size of the prop and how practically it was done. The show is also very dynamic too. Normally when one set of actors are doing something, others are doing something else, helping your eyes dart around, keeping the high intense pace the show wants to evoke with the music. Honestly, I get the hype. Entering with the right expectations of being wowed by the stunts and not the story, you will have a great time with Waterworld, and I now understand why it has stuck around for so long. Some of the cast were standing by the exit after the show too, which was nice. If you wanted to say hello, ask for a photo, or see if they had a 3DS on them to see if you could exchange data via Street Pass. It's not dead to me, damn it.
Hi, I'm Tiger Woods.
After leaving Waterworld dripping wet, even though I sat in the dry area, what a strange world we live in, we are going to walk a bit and quickly touch on the upcoming Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift Rollercoaster. My VIP tour guide sums it up pretty great, so I'll play some video of that here, but before that, it opens in 2026. The concept is really cool. Why this property wasn't used for a rollercoaster sooner, check out my Universal Studios Orlando review for some context about that statement. And I am so curious how they isolate the sound of the roller coaster to not bleed into other attractions and lands. Though I did notice that this is an issue this park has, which I will discuss as we go on.
This roller coaster is going to go down the side of the mountain and over an escalator and then back up. And it's designed so that the cars will rotate on the track, so it feels like you're drift racing. Sometimes you're going down sideways or backwards.
Oh, awesome. Taking a left from that ride, we enter a bastardized version of France, full of Halloween Horror Night props out ruining what little theming there is. A shout out to my tour guide once again for this quote.
I'm so sorry to my French friends, because this is what Americans think Paris looks like.
I did notice a cafe which looked pretty authentic from my brief time in France. The caricature artists that I never get personally are out. I am not dissing their skills, by the way, I draw as well as a 4-year-old. And there is actually a private restaurant here called Moulin Rouge, which we will touch back on in the VIP tour section of the video. But this land is simply a pathway to walk towards Super Silly Funland and the Illumination area? Huh. Yeah, truthfully, I have no idea what the point of this mini France area is, as it houses no attractions and only a few things to actually do, one of which requires a pretty pricey add-on. Whatever. Anyways, welcome to the corner of the park coined Minion Land, even though one of the attractions has nothing to do with minions. Though apparently that part of the park is actually part of an area called Production Plaza, which I had no idea about until I started writing this section of the script. So was that bit of France supposed to be a set? I got no flipping clue. Anyways, Super Silly Funland is actually what you walk out of once you finish the next ride. Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem, which is a nice way of making use of the limited space, but you can also enter it through a castle entrance facade into a pretty fun looking land, with a spinning flat ride where you ride what I think is a bee, a water play area, a cafe named after those Minion bastards, and a few carnival games I looked at and then looked away with disgust. It looks cute and fun for the correct audience. However, I do feel it is once again a little too small and is missing an extra flat ride or two to keep the kids busy who don't want to get wet, as just having one ride may make people not want to bother trying to ride that one ride, as there's pretty much nothing else you can do in the land without getting wet or spending money. So yeah, it looks good, but is missing a bit extra to make it a good land worth actually doing anything in. Moving on and passing a Despicable Me meet and greet, we are confronted with two attractions literally next to each other, which is very rare I think for a theme park. We will save the newest one for now, and instead keep the Minion theme by riding Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. This is a ride that's available at pretty much every main Universal park I think. It's a staple, and truthfully there's very little differences between them. I'll give a general overview of the experience, then discuss the differences I noted on this version versus the Orlando version I have ridden a few times over my years. You enter through a facade of Gru's house from the films, but then you're faced with a dull, bland queuing area, with tiny screens above you playing repurposed footage from the first Despicable Me film, while asking questions about Minions. You see, we get the wonderful privilege of becoming a Minion during the ride, as told to us via the first pre-show, with Gru looking down at us from his room, while we are in his room. In the next pre-show room, Gru has a hoot of a time mocking a random guest for not showering, as well as being shot with a fart gun. How lovely and fetish building.
Oh, no.
Gru's 3 adopted daughters from the first film mention that today is their adoption anniversary, and we move on. The ride takes place in a theatre where you sit with others in a group inside a vehicle that bobs up and down in accordance to what is happening on the screen in front of you. The movements were surprisingly intense, especially for a ride aimed at younger children. As for the content on the screen, which fun fact used to be 3D but was removed in 2019, 5 years after the ride opened here. The content is perfectly fine. You, as a Minion, navigate an obstacle course, and watch as things go wrong as they always do in these theme park rides. One day we're going to get on a big ride, go through it, and nothing bad happens or goes wrong, you know? Basically, don't bother with this one unless you're someone who likes the Minions. You are watching something on a screen. The content on screen is perfectly fine, but you will forget it as soon as you're done. And I am not looking forward to riding this ride 3 more times as I eventually ride it at Universal Studios Japan, Singapore, and Beijing, as I attempt to review every Universal theme park before the possible Universal UK opens.
2031, baby. 2031.
Right, differences that I noticed. The queue is way shitter here. It seems like it lacks an extra layer of quality that the Universal Orlando version has, which can be seen everywhere. The queue is even more drab, lacking the cute touch of a banana tree because, if you didn't know, Minions do disgusting things to bananas in their spare time. The first pre-show was fine, but did feel a little off. The second pre-show felt fine as well, but the fart gun prop was tiny compared to the one at Universal Orlando, and the ride room itself felt oddly small, with the screen being one size that your, hopefully, still open local movie theatre. It really just didn't feel special when I walked in, but instead like I was gonna go and watch a 4D film at a Cineworld. Plus, when you exit the ride, you enter like a dance party. The dance party area not only felt tiny, but until the ride actually starts, the sound of the song playing at the dance party bled into the room, and it was just kinda awkward when waiting for the ride to start, while the music was so clearly audible. So in the tier list of the different versions of this ride, if the other version is like a C tier for a perfectly fine motion simulator for very little kids, this one falls into D tier, as it's the same ride, but with less money behind it. Maybe this ride is actually shit, but I stand by what I say for now. We'll see what I think as I keep coming back to this ride over the years. Banana. Let's cross the street from Minion Mayhem to eliminations of a ride at this park, and I believe this ride is an exclusive, so I was mighty excited to give The Secret Life of Pets Off the Leash a go. The facade, though small, looks bright and welcoming. It's basically just an American apartment complex, but I dig it. Shut up. The queue sounds kind of shite on paper, but you're simply just going through a house. But I think it's great, as in both the express and normal queue, you get to explore different parts of the house, getting introduced to the animals you'll see throughout the ride, and a brief glimpse into their character, which is helpful for someone like me who doesn't know who the hell they are. I liked the small touches, like the windows looking out into a city, and the animatronics were good enough. My only real complaint is that it's a very small queue, and it's oddly free-flowing. There are bits where kids can take breaks if they wish, such as sitting on a sofa, and they can watch a clip of a dog recording a video. Maybe that was intentional, but this queue on a busy day would probably be horrible, and I would not be shocked if it was ultra packed. They would have to close the queue for a bit to make sure that there aren't queues out of the door, as otherwise the queue would clog up the nearby New York-esque area. Speaking of that, outside were some actors above you playing to the crowd walking by, which was nice, although I purposely hid myself as I did not want to interact with them on the day, as I'm too shy. As you can probably tell. The plot of the ride, I believe, is that you are a stray pet, making their way through the back streets of New York, trying to get to the groomers, not that kind, so hopefully get adopted. A simple, nice plot. The bits that happen in between are a bit too random for my taste. Like, it starts out fine, but it kind of just gets more and more look crazy as you go, including doing what Milhouse never got to do and going to the fireworks factory. I didn't really get why we're going where we are. Like, there's a bit where we pass through what looks like an alley with evil cats, and in the next scene, carnage takes place. Is this the cats doing? Am I just being dumb here? But I did like the charm this ride has. The ride vehicles are cardboard boxes, and at the start of the ride, you see the animal that you are via a screen. It's cute, and it does follow what you're doing with your arms and head. If you drop your head, you show your tail, which is funny, and I am sure some furries have been born from this ride. What was a pleasant surprise was the somewhat lack of screens, minus one time where you are looking at one massive screen. All of the screens used on the ride add to the set it is built upon, or mix practical props with the screens to create the illusion of doing something. For example, a dog going in and out of a bath, or a cat going through a machine. Honestly, I am not the target audience, nor do I ever want to ride it again without a young family member. But this ride is really charming. I rode it various times throughout the day, and it was quite fun looking around and observing in more detail what some of the animals were doing. Shout out to the dog doing yoga near the start. The ending is really cute. You get cleaned, see yourself again at the end, and you see some creepy looking humans in that terrible Illumination style saying they will adopt you, ending with a housewarming party. These people own a lot of pets, huh? I am very happy that one of the first things you see off the ride is a link to donate to animal charities and adopt a pet. The plot was unexpectedly lovely for a theme park ride, to end with some kind of message no matter how small. I really hope some children or even adults get off the ride and wish to adopt an animal. Always go for a rescue animal if you can, people. Just ask my little lady Nessie. A picture of her here, as she didn't want to be with me for this recording. That or she hates me. I don't know.
What do you say? You want to come home with us?
Quickly, I want to talk about the Kung Fu Panda adventure. I say quickly, as truthfully, there isn't much to say. But let's do this. I really enjoyed Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2. I thought in the world of your typical blockbuster animated flick, Kung Fu Panda shone some light into the industry. with an interesting lead character, awesome Kung Fu movie inspirations, and overall being a great time. I found Kung Fu Panda 3 perfectly fine, but after Kung Fu Panda 4 and how much of a studio executive interference-filled mess it was, perhaps I judged the previous movie too harshly. Passing under a small sign and a basic ass queue, with the only things of note being some DreamWorks movie posters, we then enter the DreamWorks Theatre, and although the first room is just a big waiting room, it's a nice one. Above us, the pre-show begins. A variety of DreamWorks characters appear, including a god-awful Shrek sound-alike, and we are told that Poe is needed to help deliver a special hammer that can transport people to the spirit realm, a mystical place in the Kung Fu Panda universe. In true Universal 4D ride style, even though this ride isn't 3D, we are asked if we want to come along. Truthfully, I will never ride this again, as the story wasn't charming at all, and it's just a series of events that keep going wrong as the story progresses. I didn't laugh or smile once, however there is one cool feature about this not 4D ride. Also, sorry about the camera, the gimbal slowly moved up as the film went on, and when I adjust the camera, the screen comes on, and I didn't want to do that and disturb people in the cinema. At one part of the short film, the cast goes through a tunnel, where a bunch of fireflies float around the cast. They move out of the projector screen and fill the walls around the screen, which was unexpected and a cool effect. Later on, when the forgettable baddie of the story appears and steals the MacGuffin, they are transported to the spirit realm for a fight. Here, the walls also become part of the spirit world. And that was very cool. For sure the highlight of this attraction. I understand that it's a theme park ride, so the story isn't going to change my world, but I always found Shrek 4D to have more of a satisfying beginning, middle and end, as well as taking place after Shrek 1. It also has way more charm and character in my opinion compared to this. It's a good filler attraction, but try not to wait long for it at all, and I highly doubt you'd ever go on it again after it's over.
Oh, I almost forgot! Bye, guys!
Leaving the theatre and walking for like 15 seconds at most, we find ourselves at Hogsmeade, home of 3 attractions based off the Harry Potter franchise. Walking into Hogsmeade, under the sign, for the first time I was impressed by how spacious it felt, despite the size limitations. In Orlando, Hogsmeade is great, but it always feels crowded even on a slow day. But the design of this version really shows that they learnt their lessons from the first time developing this land, as overall, this land was a pleasure to walk through. Walking in, there's a train named the Hogwarts Express, where you can take a photo with a person who I really wanted to challenge to see if he was actually British, but I didn't want to be a twat. The land is littered with shops such as a sweet shop, and gift shops, with Harry Potter merch in them. And once you round the corner from the entrance, you are fully immersed in the land, with the landscaping really helping with that fact. In many of the shops I mentioned, you can buy a wand. These wands are expensive, like proper pricey. So if you're trying to save some money and your kid doesn't know any better, pack them one from home or something, as Jesus, they will set you back the price of a night in a hotel. Or you can try and get your child picked at Olivanders. Olivanders is an experience that runs, I think, every half hour, I want to say, where you are basically taking part in a wand selection that you've seen in the source material. The room is full of props, and the actor playing Ollivander interacts with his wand, and it's a pretty nifty experience, with one person being chosen to have their wand selected for them, almost always a child, and it's pretty immersive, not gonna lie. Funnily enough though, you still exit through a gift shop, but in this case it's a wand shop. It's kind of funny in a way. All of you mofos that weren't picked, tough world we live in. Buy a wand or bugger off. These wands have some NFC or near field communication tech inside of them, which allow you to interact with things around Hogsmeade, to pretend as if you're doing magic. It's gimmicky, sure, but also cute at the same time, and I bet for a kid it's pretty damn cool. It gives you an excuse to look around the land more, and find spots to perform your magic at. Continuing the tour of the land for a moment, there's a restaurant called the Three Boomsticks, which serves British food, so good luck with that, as well as a chance to buy butterbeer. Never had it, I can't comment on it. I hear people talking good stuff about it, but as someone who only really drinks water and squash, it doesn't really interest me. They have toilets, oh my god they have toilets, but in the toilets you'll hear a certain moaning character from the series, which honestly sounds a little sus at times. That Myrtle bitch, she's a freaky one. I found this little path to the side with nobody here, which I enjoyed walking down. Really enhances the reveal of Hogwarts even more. Every time I see Hogwarts Castle in person, no matter where I am, it's always so cool as, holy shit, the design in person is super impressive. Sadly, we gotta wait a minute, as we have a ride we gotta do first before entering the castle. Flight of the Hippogriff is a family roller coaster that, no matter what, is always packed, even on a quiet day. The reason for this is that this roller coaster is a junior roller coaster, meaning that it was made so a younger audience can ride it and work up to bigger coasters. Nothing wrong with that, I welcome it. It just means I won't have much to say on the ride. The queue and the ride dispatch area are nice looking enough, but I have very little to say. The same for the ride. As you leave the loading area on your left, there is an animatronic bird, which I'm assuming is a hippogriff, which look cool, as well as Hagrid's hut from the films too. The main appeal of the ride, I would argue, is that you get to have various views of the land, mainly Hogwarts Castle. And yeah, that view is great, however the ride is nothing special. I am not the target demographic, so I won't be too critical on it. Once the ride was over, I did laugh as I finally got to ride a ride that always had an hour plus wait whenever I got to the park, and it was just that. Something so average always has that wait, and it's crazy to me. Ride it if it's like 10 minutes so you can say you've done it, but it is truly not worth your time in my opinion. Focus your attention more on the big boy attraction right next to it. Speaking of, let's head over, shall we? Leaving that land, I remembered 3 things. To Orlando fans of Hogsmeade, you may be wondering if the awesome Hagrid's motorbike adventure at Islands of Adventure will be coming to Hollywood. I asked my VIP tour guide this question. They said don't count on it, due to how much land that ride needs. She also mentioned that 2025 would be when Springfield, the next part of this review once we are done here, is most likely going to start the process of being removed, as the license would be ending. Finally, in Hogsmeade there is a frog choir, where a cappella singers perform numbers with frog puppets. I've never stayed and watched a full show before, but it was always nice to walk by. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is the centerpiece of every Hogsmeade around the world. The headliner, the OG, the real one, the ride that Universal always uses for promotion when you see an advert for Harry Potter in the park. Before anything, to ride this ride you must put your items in a free locker. They say everything, but to be honest, put your bag away and you'll be okay. Normally the lockers are perfectly fine in terms of size at other parks, although the area is normally quite busy since people are always coming in and out, which creates a traffic flow that can't really be addressed. What was shocking here was that not only were there not as many lockers as I would have thought, but they were so damn slim. Legit, they're about as wide as a modern smartphone. So even with my smaller drawstring bag, it was a bit of a struggle to get it in the locker. Speaking of free lockers, there's another set down in the lower lot, but stick around for a little tip to save some money. But the tip is just to leave your bag in a locker while you ride multiple rides. But I'll mention it again later, because by that point you've probably forgotten I mentioned the tip. Retention time, baby. The centerpiece of Hogsmeade, and by extension this ride, is Hogwarts Castle itself. And look at it, man. Harry Potter fan or not, this shit looks fucking cool. It also made me miss home, as I lived in Scotland for 3 years and recently moved back at the time of writing to England, and Hogwarts Castle's architecture was inspired by castles in Edinburgh. Visit Edinburgh, a beautiful city, the best place I have ever lived. I miss it. Anyway, I bet for mad fans of the franchise, a dream was to walk around Hogwarts Castle. Well, for this attraction, the castle is the queue. That's just really cool in my opinion. And it sticks the landing. I won't spoil every moment, but I'll say a good amount. The ride does have a minimum height limit of 120 centimeters. However, if you are not tall enough, or a guest isn't tall enough that you're with, you can still walk through the queue. There's always child swap if you have a kid, which basically means one person rides while the kid gets looked after by someone else in your party, then you swap and the other one can ride. Back to the queue. You walk through the dark depths of the castle after entry, and pass by animated paintings of members of Hogwarts past which interact with each other, making for a dynamic section of the queue. You pass by Dumbledore, the headmaster of the school's office, and in person it looks pretty damn impressive, with the classic Pepper's Ghost effect to make it look like main man Big D is up there, talking down to us. As well as passing through a classroom where you see Harry, Hermione and Ron hit us with plot exposition, which truly doesn't matter that much, but they do tell us to meet them somewhere, which is basically where the ride will start. I said it once, I will say it again. This queue is flipping amazing, even if you are not a Potter fan. That of which I am indifferent to. It's immersive as fuck. The music pumped into the queue makes it feel like you're travelling to somewhere unknown. Plus there's a single rider line that skips all the queue, which is great for re-rides. That of which I did a few times. The loading area is a moving walkway, where you are told to sit in a floating chair, that of which holds 4 seats. After being sat, the Harry Potter music kicks in, and we hear Hermione call us over. She throws some shit on us, and this allows us to fly up in the sky. This ride is basically a robotic arm that moves you up, down, and all around. The headrest has speakers too, and I never noticed any sound bleed between seats, which was quite impressive. Before we discuss the events of the ride, this ride method is prone to motion sickness in some guests. I personally have never had it, but I'd imagine a good way to work around this problem is keeping your head against the headrest and just look forward and don't move your head around. The plot of the ride is kind of lost on me. You're not exactly helping the cast of Harry Potter achieve a task, you're more just along for the ride as Harry and Ron fly around Hogwarts. And that's perfectly fine with me. It's the perfect theme park plot. You're just along for the ride as you go from scene to scene, trying to fit as many references as possible as you go. This ride, for the time, that being 2011 originally in Orlando and 2016 here in LA, was so impressive, and in my opinion this ride is still a technical wonder every time I ride it. The ride does use a wide variety of screens throughout the ride, but it is coupled with impressive physical sets that you transition between, going from set to screen, back to set, really seamlessly. Here is an example. You are flying with Harry and Ron. We bump into a character called Hagrid, rest in peace to his actor, where he mentions a lost dragon. The dragon appears, we fly away, and then we hear it above us, as well as see claw marks the mofo has left behind. In fact, I think the screen time versus practical set time is about 50-50, and sometimes you are looking at sets for ages, such as the dragon example. After the claw marks, we see said dragon as an animatronic, very cool. Then we are going through a spooky forest. Then we are warned about a big tree. Then the dynamic arm moves us up towards the ceiling to look up at said tree, named the Whomping Willow. There's another long section with sets and props, where you are running from Dementors, which are these creepy soul-sucking things, and it dawned on me that this may be a dark ride, but it's a pretty damn thrilling one. Like, this one may actually scare little kids and the squeamish because of the unique ride style, how close you get to the props such as the Dementors, and the effective use of sound and lighting. The only time I never felt like I was truly in the action, due to the screens, was when the cast are playing a game of Quidditch, which is like flying football, but not as fun as Rocket League. But I'm willing to bet that would look just kind of naff and not really be very entertaining with this kind of ride system, so no biggie. The more I talk about it, the more I think I love this ride. But I had a thought, and something I should take into every review of a licensed property. Could you enjoy this if you didn't know the source material? Like, if the ride is shite, it doesn't really matter what the IP is, but if it's good, can you still enjoy it even if you don't know who Harry Potter is in this example? On this occasion, yes, I think so. It's technically impressive and doesn't rely on screens as much as other rides we have talked about and will talk about in this review. The sets and props are really good, and although the plot isn't very fun to come back to on multiple re-rides, the unique feel the ride has, the charm it has thanks to the Harry Potter score, and sets that look spot on to what you've seen/read, yeah, I think anybody who physically can ride this ride should give it a shot. It's a gem in my eyes, and one I am glad is pretty much the same around the world. As there's not much to it I would change, to be honest.
Thanks, everybody. You're brilliant.
You've shown great bravery. Feel free to return to Hogwarts anytime.
Moving on, let's check out Springfield and the Simpsons ride. The Simpsons mean a lot to me, and I always love checking out Springfield at Universal Orlando whenever I go there, even if I believe the ride is not long for this world, and the next update will be when it gets removed. So I am grateful I was able to experience the other version of Springfield before it gets taken away from us. Is it for the best? I'll miss the land, the ride not so much, but let's explore and you'll see what I mean. Springfield has a crazy amount of food stalls and stands for the size of the land. Like, Orlando has a food court in their Springfield where you enter, and I think it was for a Krusty Burger, and the rest is just tiny stands, which is kind of a shame. I'm pretty sure you can get food from the same amount of places, if not more, in LA, if you count this Quickie Mart popcorn stand, which at first I thought was a substitute for the actual Quickie Mart, but there's actually a Quickie Mart shop opposite it. I was just being dumb. One touch I do way prefer at this version of Springfield is that all of the restaurants are separated to keep immersion. In a theme park that has absolutely awful immersion, this was a lovely surprise. I would actually argue this Springfield is more immersive than in Orlando, because in Orlando, Springfield is just a line with one side facing a lagoon, which at any time you can peer into. Meanwhile here, you're pretty much surrounded by the Simpsons world, until you decide to leave. There's also plenty of references which made me smile. A few things that the Orlando version doesn't have, such as a mural of the Springfield sign, the Aztec Theatre that shows the Itchy and Scratchy movie, and a mini Springfield nuclear power plant. The heavy hitters are here, such as a bar to drink duff at. I believe Moe's Tavern is here, but I was unable to go inside if you are, due to time reasons. And the chance to meet the Simpsons crew. One benefit of this version being smaller than the Orlando version is that there are less carnival games that I loathe, so at least there's that. Springfield was nice to walk through, and I hunted up and down to try and find more Easter eggs and references, but the size limitations once again rear their ugly head. I had much less of a desire to stick around and explore than I did when I was at Universal Orlando, which I think was a mistake on my part, as the more I write this part of the video, the more I look back at my footage and got impressed on how the designers were able to cram in so many damn references and locations. It's actually in some ways more impressive than Orlando's version, as they are so space constrained. I just felt rather underwhelmed when I arrived and initially checked the place out, especially after hearing on a podcast once that they prefer this version of Springfield. I would love to know how and why. A lot of the things are for sure the same around here, except a missing spinner attraction and a few nice touches. But as I mentioned above, the more I think about this place, the more it is retroactively growing on me, and I may actually like it more than the Orlando version. This section of the review got rewritten the most, if you couldn't tell. The main event, the Simpsons ride, still looks great on the outside. I love this facade of Krusty the Clown's face and the theme park behind him, as well as the Simpsons family in a roller coaster vehicle, next to the sign of the attraction. The queue is pretty much the same as Orlando, as is the entire attraction actually, so I'll quickly run through the whole experience, but if you want a much deeper look into this ride, be sure to check out my Universal Orlando review. The queue is a bunch of stairs with The Simpsons playing everywhere, including original clips, which add extra context and immersion into the ride you're about to go on. The plot of the ride is that you're at Krusty Land, a theme park in the Simpsons world, and the Simpsons family are picked to be the first to ride a new ride, and they pick us to join them. Sideshow Bob, a recurring villain in the show, is here to sabotage the ride. We go through two pre-shows here. The first is where we are selected to join the Simpsons, and I love it because you are surrounded by Simpsons characters manning stalls. The next you're in a little box of a room with some cool touches like a drawing of Matt Groening, original show creator, with Krusty. On a screen, we watch the Simpsons get forced onto the ride, and then a pretty brutal safety video in classic Itchy and Scratchy style. The ride itself is a motion simulator ride, where you go through Krusty Land avoiding Sideshow Bob's attempts to kill the family, before touring Springfield in 3D as you chase down a massive kaiju Maggie Simpson. The plot is perfectly fine, but I always enjoy it, especially when you get to go through Springfield during the middle portion. I always try and look out for something new to discover. The odd thing is, this ride is very rough, like hold on tight rough. You wouldn't think so if you watch someone filming the ride, but yeah, it's proper rough, so hang on tight and make sure you don't lose any teeth. I am not sure how I concluded the Simpsons section in my first theme park video, but I have a feeling it's the same as I'm about to say. I don't mind the Simpsons ride. I enjoyed the actual content on display, but the experience is weirdly rough, so much so that whenever I visit this attraction, I only ever ride it once. Plus the ride room and vehicles looked a bit worse for wear. Funnily enough, I prefer the land of Springfield more than the ride, and I am surprised to say, if I was to pick either Orlando's version or California's version, I think I would pick this version. Who would have guessed I'd have said that when I started this section, but there we go. So, although this is deemed the main event by many, the main event for me is Super Nintendo World, but the world famous studio tour for sure is Universal Hollywood's unique selling point, and the key figure on a lot of merchandise I saw around the park. If you did not know, Universal Hollywood genuinely does have movies shot here, and I mentioned at the start of the video how old the studio actually is. So as a film dweeb who has a piece of paper proving I am a film dweeb, having a chance to look at a piece of film history really excited me. What did worry me though would be how surface level it would be. Film history interests me, but just being told a fact doesn't really interest me. I like being told beyond a fact. For example, X did this and here is why. I find the why and added context really adds to the learning process. Anyways, let's give it a shot. Passing under a rather underwhelming sign, banners previewing what you'll see on the tour, and a nice mural I would buy as a poster, and past a rather massive cattle pen queue, you arrive at your vehicle. The tour vehicles hold about 25-ish people per vehicle, and there's a few trams per tour group, I think 4, so this attraction does eat people up, which explains the rather low queues I always saw. In my case, I got to go on a VIP tour bus, where your group and one other group get a more exclusive experience, where you get to do some extra things, as well as a nicer vehicle and free iced water. Sure, the vehicle is nicer, but you're not missing out in that aspect if you just do the normal tour. I won't recount everything you see on the tour to not take away from the experience. Plus, I may mention something you don't give a shit about, but I will go through the tour and mention key moments. Oh, and the tour is like an hour, I think, from memory, with my VIP one taking a bit longer due to reasons you will see. So a normal tour starts and ends with a video clip from Jimmy Fallon, but you do have a tour guide that tells you the facts as you go, told via a screen in each of the vehicles. I had a lovely woman on my VIP tour, and they really do add to the experience. Just having a voiceover reading a script takes away from the personality the tour has. So despite everything, having a tour guide really helps. They'll mention a fact and sometimes play a relevant clip, which gives context to people that don't know the movie or show, which helped me, as one part here, the cul-de-sac of houses set, I had no idea of the American TV shows that were shot here, so the clips shown really helped. The tour starts driving down a hill, passing a fire station that this theme park has, as well as loads of film posters. Get a quick view of the backstage of Mario Land and Jurassic World, and finally actually get to the filmmaking part of the tour. Big, bland stages. Yes, if you don't know, film stages are normally big boxes which have no windows, which you see an abundance of, which really is truly a part of big budget film and TV production, all along the way being told what was shot here, as well as passing some official looking office buildings. Passing by some sets, seeing the back of them, we enter a dark tunnel as Peter Jackson appears on the screen, telling us a bit of jargon about working on the King Kong film that came out in 2005. 3D glasses are then passed out. Yeah, see, there's actually some typical theme park attractions on this tour that you'd expect to see. I guess to add some variety outside of information dumps about film history. The thing is, it's kind of nothing. You drive into a jungle, dinosaurs or whatever, King Kong appears to fight them, kill some of them in quite brutal ways, and then you just move on. It's really odd, and kind of breaks the flow of the tour in my opinion. Like, the 85 seconds of the actual attraction, which I'll call King Kong 3D, just feels like a clip from another ride. In fact, I wonder if it's just an excerpt from the Skull Island ride at Islands of Adventure in Orlando. I wonder. Me and Post, take a look at that and report back to us.
Hello. So, King Kong 3D at Universal Hollywood came first, just to clarify. But the answer to if it is the same animations is yes and no. So Skull Island, which you'll be seeing right now, starts with a bit of a different animation, a bit of a different premise and plot. However, when King Kong starts fighting the dinosaurs, as you'll see here, if you're looking at both of these two right now, there is elements that are the same. So the foreground elements of King Kong and the T-Rex or V-Rex or whatever the fuck it's called are the same thing. And what gave it away for me was King Kong snapping the dinosaur's mouth in half or whatever, because, you know, that's kind of brutal for a theme park. So, as you can see here, it's also colour corrected a bit differently because it's meant to be in different environments. So the answer of if it is the same is yes and no. There are more elements in Skull Island, Ring of Kong, whatever it's called, at Islands of Adventure. But as for, are there any borrowed elements? Yeah, there are. But could you argue that's being resourceful? Would only people like me even notice that? Probably. But them's the facts. Moving on.
Next, we passed by a set with a wide-ass variety of houses and settings. The tour guide explained to me certain films that were shot here, and how they were shot. I won't spoil all of the facts, but some actual big films did get shot here, which is pretty cool. Now, VIP privilege does come into effect here. As the set you drive through, you get to step into and walk around, which is pretty cool. However, your VIP tour may be different. I say this as in my research it seems you're able to visit different sets depending on when you're visiting and what is being filmed. This can be seen as a negative or a positive, but you're possibly passing by a hot set, which means you have to be quiet when passing it, or even can't go there at all. With the VIP tour, your guides will do their best to ensure that you go onto a set. For example, there's also a different set I didn't get to see, which was recently used for Ted on Peacock, as well as Back to the Future. Which is cool, but I guess you get what you get. But yeah, walking around the set was cool, and took me back to my film school days. If you don't care much for film history, or even video production in general, as commercials and music videos get shot on these sets too, this bonus may not mean much. You've been seeing footage of the sets all this time, so if it does appeal to you, maybe consider the VIP tour. I don't know, it's up to you. We got to backtrack a second though to something I couldn't film. We were also allowed on the VIP tour to go into the prop house. However, sadly we weren't allowed to take any photos inside, so have some photos I took of the outside.
Hello again, another update. It turns out the prop house I visited has an Instagram account, and considering it has 2,000 followers, I'm assuming it's quite new. So a link below if you want to visit it for some reason, but if you see any pictures on screen, it's because that's what I saw.
Now, although it sounds cool on paper, I got to relearn the ins and outs of a prop department. You're just looking at chairs, tables, and shit like that. The items themselves aren't that interesting. The main appeal is that you're going into something that actually is always being used in the filming of Universal productions, as well as other productions, as prop houses normally rent their props out. One prop that was cool to see was the Beverly Hills sign, as, fun fact, it's actually super duper expensive to shoot the actual sign, so prop versions like the one in the prop department are used. To be fair to this part of the tour, I swear I have seen that version of the sign before, So that's kind of neat. Back on the tour, the few upcoming key moments are way better than the King Kong and later screen attraction we got coming up. The first is emulating an earthquake. How it practically looks, there's a truck that comes out of the roof, I think. Fire effects, the ride vehicle you're in is shaking, and my favourite part, the grand finale, the flash flood. It was pretty cool, not gonna lie, and from my research, all of that resets in 15 seconds. Moving on and past a Wild West set, we arrive at Amity Beach, where we see a diver get dragged under, and practical fire effects burn your face, and we get a nice, close personal view of Mr. Jaws, I presume. I was sitting on the far right of my tram, by the way, so if you want the view I did, be sure to aim for the right side. I found a site called jawsride.net, which has all of the info on the history of this part of the tour, and I found this photo that shows how the shark has changed its look over the years, and my god, the first two just look goofy, no? Moving on once again, we stop by a village that then gets hit with a flash flood, after being shown how rain effects work. It's a bit naff on camera, cool it in person, and yes, all 3 locations shown thus far had shit filmed on them. Not much, but they have been screen used. Next we pass a set I actually remembered, a Wild West set from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then pass through a set used in the movie Nope. The premise of the film, without spoiling it, is don't look up. We drive through the set as Jordan Peele talks to us over a pre-recorded video, but at the exit the vehicle stops, the ride breaks down, and then you hear monster-like sounds above you. It lasts like a few seconds, and then you move on. It's shit. Perhaps call it at night, but during the day it was just comical. Set was cool to see though. Let's proceed. Finally, the grand finale of this entire tour, all this film history, a look at practical sets and a weird King Kong tangent. How does this ride finish? I remember the great movie ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios before that closed, finishing with a beautiful montage of film history. Seeing that for the first time all those years ago is what helped me discover a love for movies. The stories they can tell, the emotions they can make you feel, and the attachment we can get to the worlds and characters created, living on way beyond everyone who was involved in said stories passing on. This tour ends with a Fast and Furious screen attraction. If you've watched my Universal Orlando review, you will know that I think the ride, Fast and Furious Supercharged, is the ultimate so bad it is good ride. The visuals look like they are out of the PS2. The ride video is obviously from the Hollywood version, so it makes no sense why we enter a bus in Orlando, and in ride we are in Hollywood, the story is shit, the effects make the audio inaudible, and I love it so much for how shite it is. Seriously, the queue is the best part of the attraction, and I think most people will agree on that, even if they don't agree with me saying that it's so bad it's good. So, take away the cool queue, take away all the silly things that make the attraction so jarring and strange. What are we left with? An extremely underwhelming conclusion to a pretty great tour overall, where you are pretending as if the tram tour vehicle you were just on, going at 10 miles an hour at most at points, goes fast as fuck boy as you raced against PS2 looking graphics while Vin Diesel becomes the size of a helicopter and The Rock makes a dick joke. I wish I could say I hated this, but without all of the unintended charm the Orlando version has to make it funny to me, this wet fart of an ending to the tour is a real downer, not gonna lie. And instead, I think something like maybe a touching ending montage of Universal movies and why movies are magical, or perhaps the current head of Universal doing a pre-recorded video saying, thank you, and then you play that aforementioned montage, or perhaps a final timeline where you drive past posters with props from an iconic film every year since Universal Pictures' creation, which can get updated every year, but instead, Fast and Furious Supercharged. Oh, I scared my dog, I'm so sorry. So yeah.
In a funny turn of fate, it has now been removed as of 2025. Fast and Furious Supercharged at Universal Studios Hollywood has now been removed. Good riddance, hope to never see you again, but I hope they don't remove you in Florida, because that is the funniest practical joke I've ever seen to a paying audience, and I want it to never end.
Now these were the key parts, but as you go through the tour, you pass lots of props and sets, such as the Bates Motel from Psycho, although I think this was from a Psycho sequel and not the original if I remember a Cinemassacre video correctly, a cul-de-sac where loads of American sitcoms get shot, including Ted, a set from War of the Worlds, which was cool, and lots of other little things. Sure, some of the things are static, but this attraction is ever-changing, which is why it may be a local guest favourite, as each ride is at least somewhat different to the last. I follow an account called Universal High, or Universally High, and they ride the tour like every week, sometimes every day, picking up on every little change and what's being shot there. So the version I experienced is probably already old and defunct, since it's not the same, if you get where I'm going. All in all, I think the Universal Studios tram tour is pretty damn good. It's unique, and unlike other theme parks where they are pretending to have a film history at their theme park, this place actually does, and you can see it as you drive around. Truly, the biggest letdown about this tour is the two screen-based attractions, King Kong 3D and Fast and Furious 2D. Replace these two with other practical displays of cool effects, and that'd be even cooler than what we got now. I am not sure at this time what these two replacements would be, but if Universal Creative wants to hit me up, my DMs are open on Twitter, baby. But yeah, overall, the world-famous studio tram tour is worth your time, even if you didn't know a single movie or show that was mentioned or shown throughout the tour, because it truly is a unique experience, and one I would ride pretty dang often if I was a local. The VIP version of this tour is great, for sure worth the upgrade if you want to go the extra mile in terms of exploring a set or going behind the scenes more than what the tour offers. But I believe the general public wouldn't care about that, and I don't think it's worth it unless you're a film dweeb like me, or you want to have your own quiet tour bus with a guide, free water, and thankfully, no Jimmy Fallon. Ugh.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon.
This concludes my review of the upper lot, so now we must make the perilous journey down to the lower lot, or as I like to call it, the one with all the loud rides. To get there, we have to go down lots of stairs. There are escalators as well as normal stairs if you're willing and ready to add extra steps to an already step-filled day. I didn't mind the going up and down. If anything, it splits people up and helps people decide what they want to do first. Plus you get some nice views of the surrounding area. I will say, the view of the land as you go down does show how little theming there is to the lower lot, and instead it's just attractions inside sound stages. I know it isn't trying to have nice theming, but I can still mention it. The first impression of the lower lot is that it is really small. Like, actual walking space is pretty damn small, and as mentioned previously, the lack of theming, while almost trying to have theming outside the attractions, is really strange to me. They make do with the space they have, but it is strange to have a Jurassic World attraction opposite a Mummy one, with both of those having a Super Mario store nestled between them. Plus, despite the space, they cram in lots of bloody places to eat. I saw a Starbucks, a cafe, a Panda Express, which is a Chinese food place for my non-American friends, and that might be it, but I swear I'm missing more, and these were squeezed right in there next to the attractions. Let's tackle the Jurassic World portion. You get a preview of the big splashdown drop of the signature attraction, which we will speak about shortly. But next to it, you're able to meet a raptor and their handler, which is pretty cute, not gonna lie. It kinda adds to the immersion of actually being in Jurassic World. There's a dino play area for little kids, but I truly didn't see a single thing about it, so moving on. We got Jurassic World The Ride. Passing under a quite small Jurassic World sign, I went in the express queue, so I only got a glance at the actual queue, but it looked proper bland, with misters to keep people cool, and screens giving the backstory of the ride. There's nothing special in regards to that. The ride, if you didn't know, is a water ride, and you will get wet, so warning there. It's weird. I lived in Scotland for 3 years and now I live in England. Rain doesn't bother me at all, but at a theme park, I just have this desire to not get wet on rides. Perhaps it's because I don't have somewhere comfy and a place I know to get back to. That or I have to keep walking around with wet shoes all day. Yeah, whatever. This ride is an evolution of the previous Jurassic Park ride that was here, which got rethemed and reopened in 2019, after the original version closed in 2018 after 22 years of operation. The plot of this ride is that you're exploring a section of the Jurassic World theme park, and it all goes well for a time, passing by the herbivore dinosaurs that are only interested in your camera flash and not your big, juicy thighs, until you get to the Predator Cove section of the park, where you're told an Indominus Rex has escaped, which then has you going into an area with a dino who is trying to get out of their pen. After passing them, we pass a sneaky bugger who has cut the wires on our ride, which has us dropping down into darkness, where we are surrounded by escaped dinos, culminating with the previously mentioned Indominus Rex as we drop away from it, getting soaked and finishing the ride. The ride is pretty long, running at around 7 minutes, and it's a really enjoyable time. I enjoy how well it does at immersing you into Jurassic World, using things such as tunnels and roofs to more than likely cover other buildings and attractions. Despite the refurb, there was only one proper screen used, which was at the start, showcasing water-based animals, but it does that thing I like of mixing screens with practical effects. One big mofo will swim by and splash people, which then has water being shot at the ride vehicles. The set design is rather sterile to fit with the Jurassic World design. That's fine, but I much preferred moments that were more natural, such as the opening section with the sign, going under a waterfall, and the herbivore section. I guess you could argue it's to show how off the beaten path you're going on the tour, but whatever, it's neither here nor there. The animatronics were great though. They start simple and don't move too much, although they do love to shoot some bromine-filled water at your face. But as soon as we get to the predators, these dinos are dynamic and expressive as hell, especially in the dark section at the end. Perhaps the dark lighting is masking some of the flaws of the animatronics, but the lighting is angled so that the focus is on them, so it's kinda hard to hide those flaws. It doesn't come off well on camera, but the last dinosaur was more than just a head, but pretty much the whole dino, and that completes the experience. It goes from relaxing to tense really well throughout the ride, and it's a pretty damn good water ride. I wouldn't ride it more than once per trip, as there's not much re-ride potential, but Jurassic World The Ride is a good time. I feel it could be better, like if it had the same space as the older attraction over at Islands of Adventure. I think it could go from a pretty good ride to a pretty great ride, with more space to allow us to explore more zones and sections of this fictional theme park, nestled inside this non-fictional theme park with fictional IP as its key attractions. You feel me?
If you can see me, I need you to keep your hands inside the boat. The slightest movement will set these animals off.
Walking literally across the street, we find ourselves at Revenge of the Mummy, a ride that is beloved at Universal Studios Orlando, but I have never heard about this version of the ride, so count me curious. Before we begin, this is the only ride in the theme park that makes you put your bags in a locker apart from Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey back upstairs. It is free, and if I recall correctly, they were a tad bigger than the ones upstairs, but still pretty damn small. Editor's note, they are now the same size as the ones at Harry Potter, and that sucks. You can pay to have them longer than the allotted time, but to be honest, if you want bigger lockers, just go into CityWalk and there's some lockers there. I mentioned a locker tip earlier, and here it is. Because of how tiny the lower lot is and how pretty much every attraction down here is a thrill attraction to some degree, you could easily put your bigger stuff into one of these lockers, ride all 4 of the main rides down in this section, then come back for your stuff before the timer runs out. You're welcome! Or I'm sorry if you took too long and you now have to pay. Entering the queue under a sign which, I mean, it's a sign, but it's a bit flat considering on both sides of the ride entrance there are eateries kind of breaking any immersion. I keep going on about it, but considering the final portion of this video does immersion so well, I feel justified in talking about it. The outer portion doesn't have much to speak of, though it is covered from the sun and has water misters, a recurring theme around this park. Well done, Universal. Shit's hot out there. It was like 40 degrees centigrade when I was there. Take me back. Indoors, it does get better. I thought it looked a bit naff when overlooking the queue through the express and single rider queues. However, there's more to it than I thought. It looks like a tomb, at least what I assume a tomb looks like from movies. There are a few interactive elements that may spook a first-time rider, a screen which gives backstory to the ride, which is where I noticed the story is different from this ride compared to the Universal counterpart, which I found interesting considering these two rides opened within a month of each other. In the Orlando one, the gimmick was that we were entering a movie set, which goes wrong basically. Here it seems we are really entering the Mummy's tomb. The dispatch area is not too bad to look at either, but also not much to say. Although when I was standing, I did wonder what a mental mindfuck it must be to work in this kind of static lighting that has so much sunshine. The ride is great, though it feels like it is missing an ending. Let me explain. So, it starts with someone from the movies coming out to basically say, "Bitch, what the hell are you doing here? This mummy shit is real, run away." Then we are surrounded by mofos with glowing eyes. It's a cool start, even if us having to look up at a rather small screen was a weird surprise. And then we see the titular mummy. This is a key scene in the Orlando version. He basically gives you an offer to join him or die, and you then are surrounded by mofos who appear from the ground. Instead here, in the next room, we have an animatronic who has underlings with swords who appear from above down to the ground before we fly away. In my original notes, I thought this introduction was worse than Orlando, but on reflection, they are just different, and are as good as each other. After that scene, the roller coaster fun begins, as you dip and duck around mummy goons trying to get ya, in the form of static drawings that get some light shined on them as we pass. After a rough break, some bugs projected on some walls, and probably somebody on your ride getting scared of a projector, I know I wish it was an 8K screen too, the ride gets sent backwards, a wonderful surprise on the first ride. After that, the ride kind of ends. The ride moves onto a platform for you to rotate to the exit. Above you, the previous image of the dude named Emotep, who offered you eternal life or death, is just defeated. What's even weirder, that final section has a tiny bit of theming, but otherwise, the area is just a black void. A real missed opportunity to fill this black void above us with like some kind of flash or something to show that an attack is being done on this Emotep dude to defeat him and allow us to escape. But as the ride is now, it has a pretty damn good start and middle, but a rather flat ending. The Mummy feels underdeveloped in some ways, mainly due to this ending section, as well as feeling that this is a lesser version of another ride. However, it is still a great time, one that I rewrote many times over my time at this park. Ever wanted Optimus Prime from Transformers to thank you? Well, you can either meet him outside this next attraction, or you can ride the ride Transformers The Ride 3D. Because despite 3D being removed from other rides like Despicable Me, this ride still has it. The exterior is... look at it. It gives the vibe that it could be replaced overnight with how little effort has gone into this exterior. I know. As for the queue and attraction, I'll touch on it briefly with a few key points as it is pretty much a one-to-one copy of the other versions around the world. So feel free to watch my Universal Orlando review if you want a bit-by-bit breakdown of this ride, but the key points are... The queue is that of a military base, and it gives you a basic backstory of who the Transformers are, reminds you that this is the Michael Bay Transformers films, and that we'll be riding on a Transformer called Evac, which is rad. As for the story of the ride, you are basically diving headfirst into a battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons, and it's perfect theme park fodder. You turn your brain off and watch the action take place. What's even more rad is that unlike pretty much every one of these you are put into the action rides, which includes other rides I love, is that the character you are riding on actually fights throughout the ride. He takes out multiple enemies, and that actually adds another level to the ride, in my opinion. It's oddly satisfying. As for the ride technology, it's a dark ride that mixes 3D screens with practical sets and effects like water and wind. Combined, it works really damn well. It's not as impressive as the Spider-Man Dark Ride at Islands of Adventure, but every scene transition works well, having practical sets to mask each screen. And on top of all that, it's actually thrilling. The vehicle bobs and weaves to the action on the screens, with a fair bit of force. It's a pretty wild ride. With a single rider option to skip the boring queue, this ride is 100% worth your time. You may not remember the key details after you ride it, but while you're riding it, you'll have a smile on your face. I could make a joke here, but I'll just let you make one and keep my image squeaky clean.
Your bravery saved the planet. Well done, freedom fighters.
Finally, here we are. Super Nintendo World. I have a lot to say. But before I actually talk about Super Nintendo World, I must mention what angered me so much that I am dedicating a portion of this review to this issue that I had. I also have to discuss an upcharge I took part in regarding this land. So if you want to skip straight to the nuts and bolts of this land, please feel free to use the timestamps at the bottom. If anything, it validates me, because those take a fair bit of time to write, and I hope someone actually finds them useful. So, at this park you are able to purchase early access to enter the park 1 hour early, and get into Super Nintendo World when it is dead. I thought about it, but decided against it. I went back to Universal in the morning before my flight to check out Universal one last time to give context. You are able to enter the park early if you don't have early access, but you can wait in the opening area, look in shops, and do other shit while you wait. Perfectly fine, but for some godforsaken reason, you are then escorted down to the lower lot from the upper lot. Sounds fine, but this just then creates a really long line behind you, leaving you feeling trapped in a massive crowd of people, no matter which staircase or escalator you take. You may argue this is to stop people from running, great on paper, but you let people free outside Super Nintendo World. Guess what? Everyone bar me fucking ran. You're not negating the problem, you're making it fucking worse. The entire time I was walking down, be that on the escalators or on the stairs, I was getting pushed and shoved like a bitch. And what makes it worse is that when you are let loose, it is into the warp pipe, the tightest possible area of Super Nintendo World. This genuinely made me angry. In my opinion, you are not negating the problem, you are making it worse. Adults are children with more money. Tell them not to do something and they'll want to do it. Myself, and I'm sure many others around me, had the urge to walk faster than a snail with broken legs. And it grew more and more as we shambled towards Super Nintendo World. The evidence of that is the fact that it started out fine, but by the end, people were really pushing and shoving, highly agitated at this understandable on paper, but in practice, really idiotic decision. And breathe. Super Nintendo World is probably the second time in my life a theme park took an IP and created something I truly got excited about. The other being The Simpsons, as back when I was a kid, that was magical to me. I am not the biggest Nintendo guy, but I love me some Mario Kart as long as it's not the Super Nintendo version, as I'd argue that doesn't hold up. Mario Sunshine and Odyssey are my favourite Mario games, plus Mario Tennis on I think the Game Boy Color was a pretty great RPG. Point being, I like them video games. So to have a video game land being created and actually having Nintendo's approval and guidance, not just gimme money, oh my freaking god, I just couldn't wait to check this place out. Ironically, I picked reviewing this version, and not the version in Japan, or any of the upcoming versions in Orlando and supposedly Singapore, well, I hear that this is worse than the Japan version, so I wanted to start from the bottom and work my way up. One last bit of preamble before we actually walk into Super Nintendo World. I briefly mentioned the wands in the Harry Potter section, but I actually did partake in an upcharge for this land, as I believe this theme park land was designed around this device unlike the wands, as the wands simply add to the land, unlike this mofo right here, the power-up band. This device allows you to interact with objects around the park, such as power-up blocks, to earn coins, as well as minigames, which, if you beat 3 out of the 4, you can take part in a boss battle against Bowser Jr., the kid of the big mofo that Mario swings in Mario 64 and calls homosexual. Now, who wants an unboxing of the power-up band? Don't worry, I cut out all the fluff. The box seems kind of nice, and apparently it's an amiibo for your Switch as well, so I've got a Switch here. This is the one I use for work. And let's give this a go. Comes with a little fucking something or other. Let's figure out what this is. Ooh, it's a how-to guide. And a map. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's actually like a fucking map. Start, the golden mushroom was stolen. Bowser may have locked it away. Bowser Jr., sorry. His minions guard the keys. Collect the keys to take back the golden mushroom. The power-up band allows you to play games in the Mushroom Kingdom. Punch blocks, find tap points. Explore, discover, and play. Interesting. So that's actually nifty. It comes with a little how-to. The box is pretty nice too. You'd hope so for $42 before tax, because America is stupid and doesn't add tax to what you're buying. If you don't know, in the UK, if you're buying something for £19.99, it's £19.99. It's not $19.99. Then the tax is added. The Americans, does that make budgeting really hard? Because you basically have to be doing maths constantly, or math, as you would say. So there you go. I am now one with the band. Let's see. I'm gonna firstly hold an amiibo to the NFC touch point. So let's do this. Let's take this off, and we're gonna do this together. So it's the right Joy-Con. Create a me for the owner of this amiibo. Okay, so now I can do it. Registration complete. What does it do? Each power-up band can be used as an amiibo for its corresponding character. Right, so does that just mean I can unlock Yoshi skins in games? I think that's all it means. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's still pretty shit. Whatever. That was a bonus to what I was expecting. The real main appeal is using this in the Mario Land. So there's a QR code on the back. Maybe I should cover it up. I don't know. Does that mean you can now steal my thingy-majiggy? I don't know. So it's just, I scanned it and it gave me a bunch of numbers. Do I have to put this into the Universal app maybe? Let's find out. Super Nintendo World, here we are. Ooh! Collect stamps, view your rank, and see how many coins you have collected, and use the map to track your adventure. Oh, I do know that this will work at any Super Nintendo World, so the Japan one whenever I eventually get there, as well as Epic Universe, which is at the time of recording not open. Okay, here we go. You're all set. Cool. I'm guessing whichever band you pick, you're automatically assigned a team when you're in the land because of the person you picked. So I think there's Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Yoshi. So, yeah. Oh, there's more. No, there's also Team Daisy, who, on the day I'm recording this, is team number 1. That's kind of, the leaderboard's kind of cool, I guess, when you think about it. Ooh, so Mario Kart has a score? So does that mean you can genuinely, like, be number 1? Huh. Oh, there you go. Here's the lore I just read on that booklet. The Super Nintendo World lore. Earn keys by defeating enemies, meeting characters. Meeting characters? So you, like, meet Mario and then say, can I have some money, please? Like, how does that work? I'm not one for meeting characters, but maybe I'll have to. Whoa, okay, so there's shitloads of things to do. Okay, so green ones are... Let's turn all these off. We'll go one by one. So the question blocks... I think you just get coins. The M, what does that mean? Binoculars. Maybe an Easter egg, I'm not too sure. So these key icon ones, I guess, are the mini games that you can do. I think you have to do 3 of 4 to access Bowser Jr., who is the boss of the land. Star, I'm guessing those are attractions. Mario Kart and... yeah, those are the attractions. And the flag posts are characters, I'm going to guess. Yeah, follow players. You can follow players. That's kind of cool. You can follow your friends, I'm guessing, if you both go to... if you're lucky enough to live near a theme park and go to one regularly, you can do that. That's the app. Well, with all that, back to me in the UK, months, maybe even years later from recording this.
So if you skipped ahead, a small recap, plus some details I missed and ones that I can now give with added context.
The power-up band acts as an amiibo for your Nintendo Switch, but all it does is unlock a costume for the character you picked. So for example, a Yoshi skin in Mario Kart. You can pick Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Toad, Daisy, and Peach bands. And when scanned into the Universal app on your phone, it allows you to create an account with that character. The app is where you can also track how many coins you have earned, as well as stamps earned, which are basically achievements. You get them whenever you do things in the land, such as earning 100 coins in the Mario Kart ride. This is also where you can track things such as leaderboards throughout the day on which team is winning, as well as how many keys you have earned for the Bowser Jr. boss battle. This leaderboard thing, though shallow on the surface, was actually pretty fun in my opinion. Finally, there's a cool interactive map on the Universal app to accompany the equally cool paper map you get in the box. I know I just talked a lot. I'll tell you more as we go, but please remember you don't need to do this to enjoy the land. But to fully experience it, yeah, you kind of do have to buy one of these things. Right, sorry for the delay, but look at the video length, I like talking. The entry to Super Nintendo World is fine. You only get a small view into the land, but the welcome sign is also surrounded by a rather blandly themed building to the top right, as well as rather cheap looking signs surrounding the entrance pipe. But outside of that, the sign is great. Walking through a warp pipe from the games is a wonderful idea, and I do like the shrubs themed to Mario iconography. What is 10 out of 10 here is the feeling you get as you walk towards the warp pipe. Sure, there are some issues I can point out, but the music that gets blasted at you, the happy overworld-esque Mario music, is unbeatable. All the music, feel free to correct me, felt like remixes of tracks from Mario's history. Walking through the warp pipe, which if you haven't played the games, takes you to another land or section of a level, you hear the sound from the game and see LED lights on top of the pipe. Next, though small, we walk into a beautiful version of Princess Peach's castle, while a new rendition of her castle theme from Mario 64 plays. I remember on my last way out, just standing here for a minute, enjoying the remix. On the walls are two portraits in the style of Mario 64, using the same transition effect as when you jump into them to change the images. On the left, it looks like Bob-omb Battlefield, but on the right, on reflection, that portrait actually gives backstory to the land. We see Princess Peach having a gay old time with a golden mushroom. Then Bowser Jr. comes in and steals it. I also missed the "looky what I got" sign. So fair play for having multiple ways of learning the backstory, be that through an app or diegetically in the park itself. Walking out of the castle, wow. Although I'm not a fan of the back murals being made in blocks, this land looks incredible. There's so much movement around the place. The whole place just feels alive. Spinning coins, moving items such as blocks and Goombas, piranha plants high up moving around, even the entrance to Toadstool Cafe looks pretty cool, though I didn't eat there due to time. Visually, I adore this place. Like, look, this bit of shade is a big mushroom, and you sit on small mushrooms underneath it. That's cute! Also, there are lots of M logos dotted about that allow you to interact with the land. For example, discovering an 8-bit Mario and being able to hit a question block to earn a coin and get that satisfying sound. Even if you really have to whack it and hurt your wrist a bit. Plus, the scenery really does feel like it could have been from the games. Universal Creative really nailed this, man. What I love so much though about this land is that you are rewarded for exploring. If you can enter it and there's no "staff only" sign, go for it. Some areas are just sections to hit power-up blocks to earn coins, but others have little attractions to interact with. For example, going up some stairs gets you not only a view of the land, perhaps too much of a land, as I could see a Goomba's moving track, but hidden Pikmin's augmented reality goggles, where you can look down and around at the land, finding Koopas and Yoshis, as well as an interactive screen where if you hit a question block, a power-up comes out and you can just go crazy on some Goombas and Koopa Troopers. There's no reason for it apart from maybe earning a stamp for your achievement list. Isn't that cool? It's like a video game. You are rewarded for exploring. That's just flipping rad. Plus the theming in these little areas are really cool too. Heck, there's like a meet and greet section in a themed little castle/gazebo if I remember rightly. But on the flip side, the other meet and greet spot is surrounded by the centerpiece of the land, which does create a bit of a crowded sensation if you feel crowds easily. Another thing, this land is very small. Like, I would have hated to be here at a busier time, as it would have been hell. To try and control traffic, there are lots of stands with ropes on them to show people where the attractions are. But outside of that, it's a very tight, compact land. Shush. One of which that immerses you well, apart from some blue buildings when you're on a higher level, but the immersion in this case has come at the cost of space. I just know that my missus would hate it here. Merry music pumping around the land does help with crowds a bit by taking your mind off things. But unlike the entrance and the castle you enter through, it gets kinda drowned out by the minigames, which we shall get to right now. So there are 4 minigames throughout the land. I am unsure if you can play them without a power-up band, but considering theme parks can be cruel when they want to be, I'm assuming you do need one. You can get a power-up band from the 1-Up Factory, which is the gift shop for the land, or from nearly every general store throughout Universal Hollywood, as they are everywhere. But you can also get them from vending machines dotted around the land. That's kind of cool. There's also points around the land where you can scan your band and actually see your profile without needing the app, which is kind of cool too. Back to the minigames. You have to beat 3 of these games to earn keys to be able to enter Bowser Jr.'s fortress and take him on to rescue the Golden Mushroom. 3 of these minigames were out in the open within the land, where people can just walk around, which is fine, but the 4th minigame, and the one I will start with today, is actually hidden away. I don't know the names, I will just give them my own. Stop Thwomp from being a twat tasks you and anybody else you join to make the various blocks on the screen be the same colour, be that yellow or blue. However, certain ones will change the colour of the blocks surrounding it, so watch out for that. You get 3 tries, with a timer on each round until you either win or lose. Once I worked out that you actually have to hit the screen rather hard to make the blocks change, as well as it could be either blue or yellow to win, not just yellow as I first thought, I actually got really into this, and could see it being really fun with a group. Judging by how my videos have gone thus far, I think you can guess how many friends I was there with. What was interesting too, was that this minigame was not manned by staff members, so it was kind of the honour system on when people go and stay. From my time doing it, it was 2 tries before it was expected of you to move on. Do this one, as it's not super easy, but pretty dang fun. Plus the line for this was never long throughout the time I was there. Probably because you have to do a tiny bit of effort to find it.
Well done, well done. Well done.
The next minigame is fun in concept, though I personally didn't enjoy it much. Don't Wake Your Wife Up tasks you with having to turn off alarm clocks in a small area before a piranha plant wakes up. It was oddly strict, something I noticed at all the other minigames. The staff are very strict on if you pass or not. I'm sure it's just because you got to keep people coming in and out, but Anyways, I was forced to be with a family, and I really felt I could have done better by myself. I can't exactly dart over quickly to a clock when I have a risk of bashing a child out the way. I was really annoyed that I was forced to be with the others, and would personally avoid this one if you are by yourself because you are at the mercy of the others around you more than yourself. Next we have one that's super easy. You will never get this, you will never get this, has a Goomba trying to walk over a hill. You have to turn a crank to stop him. That's it. At least it's an easy key. Next we have This is Highly Impractical, where you have to hit a Koopa shell to hit a Koopa Trooper who is above a pipe. You have to time it right so that a chain reaction of power blocks goes off just at the right time to get him. I found the timing a little awkward, but it's simple enough and worth doing as one of your keys. So we have our keys. You approach Bowser Jr.'s castle and scan your power-up band to prove you earned the 3 keys. By the way, you scan before you start the minigames or after to earn the key. And it's like you're entering an attraction. The first part has a Bowser Jr. statue, which I believe mirrors the massive one of Bowser in the Mario Kart attraction we'll cover later, coupled with portraits of him, which he probably drew himself. Is Bowser Jr. a he? Hold up. Yeah, he is. Cool. The portraits were pretty funny and gave off the vibe of a twatty kid who can draw really well. I'm just jealous. As well as paint splatters like he did as Shadow Mario in Mario Sunshine, his first appearance. Walking in, there's a power-up block to interact with, as well as a chest, and this Q-Man just looks so cool. In the next waiting room, there's an instructional video that plays telling us what we are about to do. Basically, when bombs are dropped on you, swat them away, duck bullet bills, jump to get power-ups, if you get a fire flower, throw your arms to throw fireballs. The boss room has spots where you have to stand when assigned a number, and basically, you're playing a Kinect game. Yeah, I didn't think I'd mention Kinect in this review, but considering I have seen bed stores use Kinect to scan your body while you test a bed, I have seen it in weirder places. What I mean to those who don't get it is that your body is the controller, and you are reacting to what's being projected in front of you. On this occasion, it works rather well, actually. You are given a pre-game chance to mess about with balloons to get a feel for it, but then Bowser Jr. comes in and the game is on. If I remember correctly, you earn a coin for every bomb you knock away, but also get a bonus if you get Bowser Jr. with either a bomb or a fire flower. After a wave of dodging attacks, everyone gets a power-up flower and you get to go to town on some Koopa Troopers, as well as Bowser Jr. himself. After beating that naughty boy, that sounds bad on multiple levels, you then jump onto the top of a virtual Super Nintendo world, changing the flagpole from Bowser to Mario, winning the day. You earn a golden mushroom for your power-up band's account, as well as a few coins, and you are out of there. Though Peach does at least say thank you at the end, which was nice. We did all that work and she just sat on her ass. So was the power-up band and the minigames worth it? It's tough, actually. I enjoyed the block minigame. The rest were just... But being able to do the Bowser Jr. boss was really fun, actually. The gameplay was simple but fun for the context of a theme park, and I wouldn't mind doing it again at Epic Universe or Universal Japan. And your power-up band does work at those parks too, which is nice. But it is pretty steep, man. If I wasn't a massive theme park guy, I would have got one, done it all, and then sold my power-up band online to hopefully make most of the money back. So in conclusion, the minigames range in terms of how fun they are. The experience overall is indeed unique for a theme park, earning an actual reward is pretty dang fun, the power-up bands are a fine enough novelty outside of the parks, but don't expect it to do much, and I'm looking forward to teaching Bowser Jr. a lesson one day in Osaka and Orlando. Here we are, baby. Hello to anyone who skipped ahead. Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. This is probably, at the time I rode it, the most hyped for attraction I had ridden in my adult life. I was so curious on what it was actually like in person, as it looked great in promo material, but the job of promotional material is to make shit look good. And I am a pessimistic twat, so I entered excited, but ready to have my soul crushed if it sucked. As you enter the queue, it feels like you are leaving Nintendo World, judging by the fact you see what looks like Yoshi murals on the walls. And this stuff all looked really good as you pass through into Bowser's Castle, where you pass by a big-ass statue of the mofo, which looked really cool in person. This portion of the queue, man, holy shit. Right, so the theming is sublime. Everything prop-wise had like a sheen or something to it to make it feel like it was from the games. Seeing Mario Kart trophy cups, as well as their icons on a wall, was a nice way to get hyped, until you then pass by what we are racing for, the Universal Cup. Then to our left we see the badge of the Universal Cup, as well as a letter to Mario from Bowser challenging him to a race, with for some reason a photo of the two together. Bit odd that, but moving on. This next portion is just... fuck. I could be here for a good 10 minutes mentioning everything I noticed from a Mario game. Like, right away, seeing the flying ship model that Bowser always nicks Princess Peach with, I will just say that this shit is incredible. It's like a workshop, littered with books and stuff like piranha plants and bullet bills, and we see blueprints of said item on the wall, as well as the theming of the walls and the massive metal door to his fortress. Everything here just makes you feel like you left a theme park and stepped into somewhere else. I can't understate how good this portion of the queue is. This praise continues as we pass under a massive door and enter a production house of all the items we saw being designed in the workshop previously. Does Bowser design all these, by the way? I want to know who makes these. The wizard character? I don't know. Seeing props like the Mecha Koopas, Bullet Bills and Bob-ombs in such great detail in person is so cool, and there's screens dotted around the pipes you are walking past that show said items being built. The lighting in this section too is darker and redder than the previous room, which was lit more with traditional yellow light bulbs. The next room is the first pre-show, and here Lakitu basically tells us what the ride queue already did. But it's good for those who didn't observe the stuff that told you it. It's cute seeing all the Mario Kart TV stuff, but it's whatever, and probably here just to separate the crowds a bit more. We are then moved into another pre-show room, but this time there is actually a cool bit of theming to it. Race suits! I had no idea Toad was that big in person. It made me feel rather small. Here, Lakitu, this guy here on the cloud, mimes out all the info detailed on the other screens. And that's just cute. This room basically goes over how the ride works and our goal, but I'll let you know all that as we get on the ride and as we go along to make it easier to understand. Small tip, the express and the normal queue have to go through these pre-shows every time. However, single rider skips it. So a little tip there for riding multiple times. After the second pre-show, you are able to pick up a Mario Kart visor, which must cost a lot to clean every day. And we make our way down some stairs to the loading area, which has this mechanical vibe to it, which I really liked. The ride vehicles are big Mario Karts with 2 rows of 2. On the ride vehicles there are magnetic glasses, which attach to your Mario visor to show other digital racers on the ride, as well as how many shells you have and your current score. You are able to scan your power-up band to earn coins and stamps. However, I never had any good feedback that it worked, such as the steering wheel lighting up. I know it does, so perhaps it just scanned my band as I was getting into the vehicle, as it did register each time I rode the ride. We pull away from the loading area, and we get another tutorial and a moment to get used to the controls and how the ride is gonna work. So this ride is actually an AR dark ride. The races of Team Mario and Team Bowser in the race will be displayed via your augmented reality lenses, attached to your Mario hat visor, while your ride vehicle moves in and around practical sets with screens. It's a cool effect. It's not perfect, but we'll touch on that shortly. Gameplay is one of 2 things, technically free. You can shoot shells at your enemies with 2 buttons on your steering wheel. You are penalised for hitting your teammates, and each player in a kart has their own coloured shells they have to track. And that can get a little tough in the heat of the race. You can turn when you are advised to on your visor to earn extra coins. You can earn extra shells by going through question blocks, which are predetermined and also act as checkpoints for the race. That's perfectly fine, however that means you have a limited amount of shells, and if you spam them as soon as you get them, or you are a terrible shot like I am, there will be periods where you are out of shells and you just gotta sit around, which does allow you to take in your surroundings more, maybe look out for hidden blocks on a re-ride, but that's not exactly fun waiting around, is it? Looking down at the steering wheel is where you will see your score and shell count. However, since the visor on your face is rather small, not many people will notice that they have to look down to see the current stock of shells, meaning you will for sure hear the same sound over and over of people trying to shoot shells they don't have, and wondering why. I am not saying the visor should cover all your peripheral vision, or be like a pod, mainly because I bet that'd be annoying, but maybe making the visors a little bit bigger would help the experience. And they're not heavy really, so I don't think that'd be that big of an issue. I don't know, it feels like a lose-lose. In a perfect world, I'd prefer the dome around you, or something as the visor could be just used for tracking, then you are fully immersed in the game, but I would guess technical and logistical reasons hamper that dream of mine. Gameplay is just a little too frantic in the small visor, in my opinion. At points, it did become a bit too overwhelming, with all the audio-visual stimuli at once. With the screens around you, the action on your AR goggles, as well as the music blaring in your ear holes, all while you are trying to shoot. But what actually happened during this ride? Well, this ride is a wonderful race and tour through the world of Mario Kart, and in my opinion, it mixes projection, lighting, screens, practical sets, and music in a pretty much perfect combination. Apart from one time where there was just a smoke machine just kind of sitting there at the end of Rainbow Road, but that's getting ahead of myself. In this ride, you passed through what felt like Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 8, where you passed a barking Chain Chomp and a pretty cool projection mapped Thwomp, and here straight away I noticed something that I loved that continues throughout this ride. The characters on the screen you see will race into your AR view. That's just a really cool touch and added immersion. The racers could have just appeared on the visors, and I think people would not have minded, but this extra touch is highly appreciated. Next, we transition to a pipe and piranha plant filled section from what I think was Piranha Plant Slide from Mario Kart 7. I'm not too sure, I hardly played that one as my 3DS was bought just for Smash 3DS and that's it. Where we get inked by a blooper and move on once again to Twisted Mansion from Mario Kart 8, which looked really cool in person. One nice reference I noted here, as right before you leave and move on to the next section, there are changing portraits that showed screenshots from other non-featured maps from Mario Kart, which was nifty. Clouds cover said screens as we then move to Cloud Top Cruise from Mario Kart 8, a personal favourite of mine, and seeing those floating bounce pads in a, what I assume to be, true to life scale is just so damn rad. Getting blown by a big cloud, no I'm not rewriting that, we find ourselves in Grumble Volcano from, take a guess? I can't hear you, Mario Kart Wii, and on closer inspection, it's kind of funny how the mountain is tiny, yet Bowser's flying fortress is massive. I guess the mountain is just far away, but yeah, that flying fortress is wicked in person, and you barely get a second to look at it. From here, a lava Bowser appears, and everyone is given lots of shells to go crazy on him, and earn some coins, just in case you haven't earned a single coin thus far, and want to feel somewhat good about yourself. Finally, we find ourselves on the iconic Rainbow Road, which felt to me like the Wii version from what you see of the track, but hell if I know. This moment was the peak for me, as the music kicking in, coupled with the visuals, if only for a brief moment, made me feel young again, and my heart did that thing where it leaps as if it is feeling joy. But I am British, so I don't know of such a thing. You then see a results screen, where surprisingly you can fail, which I really like and didn't know that until I researched this ride. If most riders fail to earn 100 coins, something I never did, Team Bowser actually wins. Otherwise, Team Mario wins, which is what I got each time I rode. So thank you to everyone else on my ride for picking up the slack. Before you get to the loading area to get the hell off, you get to see what everyone in each cart did score-wise, as well as the best scores of the day, and I believe the month. So shout out to whoever got 293 coins the day I was there. Mario Kart overall is good, very good even. I wanted it to be great, but with the issues I mentioned, I don't think I could call it great. But it is still fun, and that first time of riding it did feel pretty magical, man. I can't lie, shit made me feel like a child again briefly. And if a piece of entertainment can make you feel like a child again, or bring out that childlike wonder without pandering to you, then that's something to be commended for. I loved the use of various techniques to make this ride come alive too. It's like Universal at the time of this ride's development was putting all their cards on the table to show that they could create a damn good, innovative dark ride. And I believe they got pretty damn close. It needs a few changes and kinks to be ironed out, but for a first attempt, this was well done. Ride this ride for sure. Go through the queue a few times, take everything in, and then when you want to go again, be sure to use that single rider line to skip the pre-shows and get riding as fast as possible.
Oh, so close.
Super Nintendo World is the passion that a good video game brings to someone brought to life. Although I have littered this section with little issues, overall I think this land is great, and if this is the worst version, I cannot wait to check out the Osaka and Orlando versions in the future. I will say though, there is one thing I don't like about this land, and it's due to Universal and their removal of film history. I understand why they had to do it, but it still hurts. Super Nintendo World was built upon the set of Phantom of the Opera, which was built in 1924. It's kind of weird how a theme park that sells themselves on making movies on location tears down one of the most iconic movie sets of all time, in my opinion. At the very least, one of the oldings still standing at the time. It was knocked down in 2014, and that has happened other times too, in order to build other attractions, and such for this park. Fun fact, that set was also used for the 2003 Cat in the Hat film, so 2 films of equal quality. We discussed everything I got to do at the park, but let's now discuss how I made it possible with how little time I had. What is the VIP experience like, and would I say you should do it? You walk in through your own entrance, and depending on your start time, you can either go straight into the park with an all-day express pass to skip the lines as much as you want, or you can go up into the lounge and wait for your tour. You are assigned a tour guide, and you basically are in a group of about 10 to 15 people, where you have a lovely and knowledgeable guide to escort you around the park and make sure you do as much as you can throughout the day. In my case, my tour was at 8 AM.
Correction, it was 10 AM, not 8 AM. Whoops.
And I was allowed entry at 9 AM into the park through the VIP entrance to relax in the lounge for 1 hour before general opening. The lounge when I was there was serving breakfast, and is littered with images of Universal film history over the walls, as well as some interesting film memorabilia such as a costume, studio notes, and memos. The lounge is above the entrance plaza, so you get a nice view and a place to sit while you can have a rather small selection of food and drink, although seeing British tea was a shock. The waiting area is pretty nice looking though. Shout out to Will and Terry, who were there doing a tour of the USA for their honeymoon, as well as my tour guide Angela, as she was great with me coming and going, which was really nice. I enjoyed having a guide at times, but I also enjoyed planning my own day. Though I will say, if you pick a day where the park doesn't close early, like the day I was there, you can do the whole tour and have time to do things you missed during it for sure. The park is that small. Oh, there was also bottled water throughout the lounge, as well as these handy hand wipes. I took a few back home. Here's one now. Fun. After meeting your tour guide, as well as your group, you decide as a group what you want to do, more rides or more shows, and you go from there. You are welcome to pop out at any time. However, the park is so small, like I said, you'll do what I did and just simply bump into them, which was quite funny. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but this VIP pass I added onto my ticket. However, you can just buy the VIP thing on the day, which is pretty good if you have the cash and can't face the crowds that day. In my case, I doubted I would ever be there again, so I went for it. It was pricey, at like £200 British in total, but I felt like it was worth it as a one-time thing. As for what the VIP tour gets you in the park, you get an unlimited express pass for the day, which means if you want to ride the Mummy all day, over and over, go for it. This also means you get exclusive seating for the Waterworld show I noticed. The only true special treatment you get on a ride at the time of recording is that you get your own section to wait in the 2 Mario Kart waiting rooms, which was nice. You also, however, get your own tour bus for the studio tour, which I mentioned back in the studio tour section, and that did make the tour a bit more comfy and a more personal experience. Finally, the only other thing that's special about the VIP tour is you get your own buffet lunch at the restaurant Moulin Rouge in that pitiful France section of the park. From my research, this eatery is truly only for VIP tours, and I would assume some business events, so that is for sure nice and makes you feel a bit special. I couldn't get too much footage here as I didn't want to film people eating their meal, but the actual decor was nice, lots of bottled waters and drink variety. The actual food was buffet style, and it was that annoying form of food where, say you like chicken, great, but there's something added to it. You catch my drift? This one image, by the way, I think had all of the hot food you could pick from if my memory serves correct. But there was a big salad section, as well as bread and treats. Look, the food was fine. I am sure for the vast majority of people it was great, but for me, it was just fine. The toilets were really nice though. Shame I was the one that had to use it, but I like to make sure a bathroom remembers me. That's about all the extra stuff the VIP experience gets you. There is an even fancier private tour, I think, but that's for, I assume, celebrities and people like that. So this is the fanciest experience most people would be able to afford in this park. Is it worth it? I never thought it would be, and I don't think it would be on most occasions, to be honest. It is a luxury on top of a luxury. Although I am happy I did it, as it made it possible for me to do so much in one day. However, pick a quiet day and you'll just save a lot of money. I did it on a quiet day and it was worth it, but I wouldn't have been too annoyed if I skipped the VIP experience. However, pick a busy time and I would say do this over just getting an express pass, as the price of an express pass is only a little bit less than just doing the whole VIP experience. Basically, either don't bother or skip the express pass and gets the VIP experience. That's my 2 cents. Universal CityWalk is where you'll be walking through if you drive to the park, more than likely. And it is a shopping and dining hotspot. Instead of rattling on about everything and boring you more than I may already be, I'll mention some of the highlights. There's a place that sells socks. Like legit. All that is sold here is socks. It went quite deep too. I noticed some weeby ones, gaming ones, not just your generic massive properties you'd expect in a place like this. Fair play. There's also a random King Kong here, which looks rather funny. Silly monkey, you could fall and hurt someone. There's also a random dragon, which was a nice surprise. It looked kinda cool. Though small, I did enjoy the Super Nintendo World store, and it was much quieter than anywhere else at Universal Hollywood. And finally, there's a massive cinema there. It's nothing special regarding the tech of the theatre, or cinema to my fellow Brits, though there are screen-used costumes around the foyer, which was kinda cool, and also a smart way to advertise films that are coming soon. The strip, though somewhat tight, was kind of long and it went on for longer than I expected. It seemed like a good time, but I could only see it being a fun thing to do at like the end of the day at the park. I think my VIP tour guide said it best. Universal Studios Hollywood is a movie studio with a theme park attached. And that's the key. If the USP of this park, the fact that it is an actual working movie studio and you get a tour of some of the studio backlots, interests you, then I do think Universal Studios Hollywood is worth the trip. Because it is unique that a movie studio that actually produces movies you have more than likely heard of, and a theme park all in one, is cool. However, I have heard that the Warner Brothers studio tour in LA is a better and more in-depth experience for the general public. I did do the VIP tour, which added to the experience, but the general public won't do that. Also, as a theme park, it's alright, but compared to the other Universal parks, I am unsure if it's better than any of them. However, I have only been to 2 of the 5, possibly 7, in the near future theme parks. So give me like 5 years and I'll tell you which of the Universal parks is actually the best. As for right now, yeah, go for one day. I enjoyed it. It was quite good.